The courtroom was tense as a Kentucky sheriff faced charges for the fatal shooting of a district judge, an event that has sent shockwaves through the local community and beyond. The incident has raised many questions, not only about the law enforcement officer's actions, but also about the fine line between justice and lawlessness, especially when those entrusted with enforcing the law find themselves entangled in such tragic circumstances. The sheriff, once considered a respected member of the law enforcement community, now finds himself on the other side of the justice system. The case has captivated many due to the rarity of such incidents where an elected law enforcement official is accused of a serious crime like murder. It's a situation fraught with legal complexities, but the emotional toll is equally profound, especially for the families of both the victim and the accused. Reports indicate that the confrontation between the sheriff and the district judge occurred under controversial circumstances. While the precise details of the encounter are still unfolding, early accounts suggest that the situation escalated rapidly, leading to the tragic death of the district judge. This shooting has ignited debates over how law enforcement officers should be held accountable, particularly when their actions result in the loss of life. Witnesses described a scene that quickly spiraled out of control. What began as a routine interaction between the sheriff and the judge soon turned violent, with many questioning whether the sheriff's use of force was justified. Legal experts have weighed in, suggesting that the case will likely hinge on whether the sheriff can convincingly argue that he acted in self-defense or under duress. As the trial progresses, more details are expected to come to light about the nature of the relationship between the sheriff and the district judge. Were there previous tensions or disputes between the two that might have contributed to this tragic confrontation? Or was this an isolated incident fueled by unfortunate circumstances? The court proceedings are expected to delve deep into these questions as prosecutors and defense attorneys present their cases. The fatal shooting has brought Kentucky's judicial system under intense scrutiny. The public, many of whom have expressed shock and anger, are demanding answers and accountability. The judge's death represents not only a personal tragedy for their family and loved ones, but also a blow to the integrity of the judicial system. The community is grappling with the unsettling reality that a person entrusted with enforcing the law could allegedly commit such an act of violence. Family members of the deceased judge have been vocal in their pursuit of justice, calling for a thorough investigation and a fair trial. They are seeking closure, but more importantly, they want to ensure that justice is served and that the truth about the fatal shooting is revealed. Their grief has become a central theme in the case as they attend court hearings, holding on to the hope that the legal process will deliver a measure of justice. On the other hand, the sheriff's legal team is mounting a vigorous defense. They argue that their client acted under extreme circumstances and did not intend to kill the judge. According to them, the sheriff was placed in a situation where he had to make a split-second decision. Whether that decision was justified will ultimately be determined by the court, but the defense has already hinted at a strategy centered around self-defense and the claim that the sheriff feared for his own life. This case has also drawn attention from outside the state, with legal scholars and civil rights activists alike examining its broader implications. How this trial unfolds could set a precedent for future cases involving law enforcement officials accused of serious crimes. It raises questions about how much leeway officers should be granted in life-threatening situations and whether existing protocols for de-escalation were followed. The public's reaction has been varied. Some support the sheriff, citing the immense pressures that law enforcement officers face daily, while others are horrified that a district judge, a symbol of justice and fairness, could be gunned down by an officer of the law. This dichotomy of opinion has added fuel to the fire, with demonstrations taking place outside the courthouse, further intensifying the media coverage of the trial. Adding another layer of complexity is the impact this case could have on Kentucky's political landscape. Both the sheriff and the district judge were elected officials, and their respective positions gave them considerable influence in the community. The tragic event has thus taken on political undertones, with some suggesting that the case may have deeper connections to local politics than initially thought. Others believe it is a clear case of personal conflict that tragically escalated, rather than a politically motivated crime. The trial itself is expected to be long and complicated. With both sides presenting starkly different versions of events, the jury will have a challenging task ahead of them. Each new piece of evidence seems to raise more questions than answers, and legal analysts predict that the case could take weeks, if not months, to reach a conclusion. One critical piece of evidence in the case will be the testimony of those who witnessed the fatal encounter. Their accounts will likely play a significant role in determining the outcome of the trial. However, as is often the case with eyewitness testimony, there may be discrepancies or conflicting recollections that could muddy the waters even further. The defense has already indicated that they plan to call expert witnesses who will testify about the psychology of split-second decision-making in high-stress situations. These experts are expected to argue that the sheriff, while perhaps making a tragic mistake, did not act with malicious intent. This line of defense could resonate with jurors, particularly if the sheriff can convincingly argue that he was in a dangerous situation. At the same time, the prosecution is working hard to paint a picture of a calculated act of violence. They are likely to present evidence that the sheriff and the district judge had a contentious relationship, potentially implying that the shooting was the culmination of ongoing tensions between the two. Prosecutors will aim to show that the sheriff had ample opportunity to de-escalate the situation but chose not to. As the trial moves forward, the eyes of the nation are on Kentucky. The case has already sparked national conversations about the role of law enforcement, the accountability of public officials, and the fragility of the judicial system. Regardless of the trial's outcome, the shooting of a district judge by a sheriff will leave lasting scars on the community. In the end, this case is not just about one tragic event. It's about the ripple effects of that event, the families forever changed, the trust in law enforcement shaken, and the larger questions it raises about the nature of justice. Whether the sheriff is found guilty or innocent, the impact of this case will likely be felt for years to come. The courtroom drama surrounding the fatal shooting of a Kentucky district judge by a sheriff will not soon be forgotten. As more details come to light, it is clear that this case is as much about the people it directly affects as it is about the broader issues it represents. Whatever the verdict, this tragic event will continue to resonate long after the trial has ended, reminding us all of the delicate balance between law, justice, and those who enforce them. This article provides an in-depth look at the case while maintaining an engaging narrative structure. Let me know if you need further adjustments.